What's up guys, RoyalZProduction here, and today I'm going to be going over my camera settings for my Lumix S1 camera, which I'm shooting off of right now, as well as my Lumix GH5. I'm a Lumix camera shooter through and through. I started with the GH4, upgraded to the GH5, and now have the Lumix S1, and I still have the GH5 on hand with me. I never got rid of it, as I love it as like a little vlogging rig and second B cam. And I've just gotten the question so many times, what is your camera setting for the GH5 as well as the Lumix S1? So today I'm going to give you guys a rundown of my Cinelike-D setting, my natural setting, and my vlog setting. Now I do realize that some of you are here for the GH5 settings and some of you are here for the Lumix S1 settings, so I'm actually going to leave two timestamps right above my head here, and you guys can actually just skip through the video so you don't have to sit through the entire tutorial. Alright guys, so we are here on the Lumix S1, and I'm going to go through all my camera settings here that I have set. So you're going to click on the menu button here, you're going to pop up your menu, you're going to go into the first slide right here. I'm going to go over, let's go into my photo style. So the natural setting I keep zeroed out. I haven't really made like a custom one for natural. I like to use this for like YouTube vlogging, sit down and talk videos. I really only use this for my own personal content if I'm not really needing to color grade too much. This is my Cinelike-D setting for the Lumix S1. So my contrast, I go all the way to -5. My highlight, all the way to -5. My shadow, I keep at 0. Saturation, -5. Hue, 0. Sharpness, -1.5. And noise reduction, I keep at 0. And when you're done with these settings, you can click Set, and they're now saved into your Lumix S1. And now we have the vlog option, so I actually don't have anything changed on this. I have the noise reduction at 0 and the sharpness at 0. I just manipulate my vlog footage so much in post that I just like to keep it normal out of the camera. However, what I will do with my vlog setting actually is once I set my vlog there, I will go down into this menu right here. So I'll scroll down to the second last window here on the settings tab, and I will go to the vlog view assist. Now this should be built into your Lumix S1 already, but it's gonna have vlog 709. So this gives a very rough Rec 709 type of a look on your vlog settings. So when you're actually shooting, it's not just a super raw looking image now, so it's a lot easier to actually expose your images when you're shooting in vlog. If you're using a monitor that maybe doesn't have a LUT assist, this is a really good option to always have on your camera. It's a really good natural light Rec 709 type LUT, so this comes built into your Lumix S1, and this has been absolutely awesome. And then LUT view assist on monitor I click on, and then HDMI I click on as well. Dynamic range I keep high. The recording quality here, so we have the 4K 10-bit, so if I'm ever shooting in 24 FPS I always shoot in 10-bit right here. If I'm shooting 60 FPS, I always shoot in the 4K 8-bit 60 FPS, but I'm always going back and forth from the 4K 10-bit 24 FPS to the 4K 60 FPS and 8-bit. So those are my two main recording options. If I want to shoot in super slow motion, this is how you access your variable frame rate, or your high speed video, I guess. So here you'll see 150 FPS option and 180 FPS. I usually always shoot in 150 FPS. It also gives you 4K 60, but I shoot this just in the regular recording quality right here. So yeah, if you want to access the 150 or 180 FPS in 1080p, you can go through them right here. Keep in mind though, when you go to 180 FPS, it is going to give you a crop factor. If you have a full frame lens and you shoot in 150, you can shoot in full frame, which is really nice. Another thing too, I do record a lot of corporate videos, so my audio or my sound recording level I keep at -9. I don't go all the way to -12. I just always felt that -9 has always been just a sweet spot for me. So when you get to the last slide here, you will have the option to go into APS-C mode or into full frame, so it totally depends on what kind of lens you're using. If you're using a full frame capable lens, or let's say a Sigma 18-35 with an adapter, the MC21 adapter, let's say, then you would have to shoot an APS-C to crop it in. And the image stabilization, I usually just use the operation mode. I just turn it on to normal, and then I keep the E stabilizer off and the boost image stabilizer video off. Let's say I'm shooting with a Ronin for some reason, or like even handheld, it gets super warpy. If I'm maybe shooting off of a monopod and I need to keep the camera in one steady position and I can't afford to have any type of shaking, then I will turn on my boost IS and my E stabilization. That's the only time I'll use that. But if I'm using handheld, or if I have the camera on a gimbal, then I keep it just like this. One last thing I'd like to point out here too, the ISO increments, I go to 1/3, so you can adjust it 1/3 rather than a full one stop or per 100 ISO. It just makes for easier exposure in my opinion, and it just gives you a little more wiggle room for adjusting your ISO. Alright guys, so now we have the Lumix GH5 here. We're going to click the menu setting and we're going to go into our photo style. So natural setting. So I do have a custom natural setting that I really like. It doesn't make it too bland, but this is a really good just natural setting for, let's say, vlogging or interview type videos. I really like the natural setting that I've created here. So what we have here is +2 contrast, 0 sharpness, +2 noise reduction, -1 saturation, 0 hue, and that should be everything. And I really like this setting for the natural profile. Alright, so the most asked question is what my Cinelike-D custom settings were. So I have -5 contrast, -5 sharpness, 0 noise reduction, -5 saturation, and 0 hue. I felt that this gives you just the perfect amount of wiggle room, especially if you're kind of new to color grading. The Cinelike-D setting that I have created here is just like awesome. It's like by far my favorite. My Cinelike-D settings on my GH5 are very similar to my Lumix S1. I carried over very similar adjustments to the Cinelike-D on the S1 from the GH5 just because it just looks so perfect on the GH5 that I had to kind of copycat it over to the Lumix S1. Now, if some of you guys are wondering what my vlog setting is, I don't actually shoot vlog off of my GH5. In my opinion, I mean, it does, I guess, kind of give some more dynamic range, but for the most part, after upgrading to the Lumix S1, it's just like a day and night difference because the Lumix S1 has a real vlog setting, like a cinema camera vlog, rather than the GH5, which is, I guess, like people have said it's like kind of like a fake log setting. So yeah, I don't know, I never used it on the GH5. I never really liked it. I always just stuck to Cinelike-D because that's what I was most comfortable color grading. Alright, so we can now move into the stabilizer. So I always just click the operation mode on, and then my IS lock for video is always off unless it's sitting on a tripod or monopod, or I'm maybe doing an interview or a very steady shot handheld. Then I will go in and turn it on, but 99% of the time it's turned off. The mic level adjustment, exactly like the Lumix S1, I keep at -9. Again, I just feel like that is a sweet spot. And the last thing here that I want to go over is how do you shoot super slow motion on the Lumix GH5, aka how do you get into variable frame rates. So what you want to do is click record quality as you would if you were changing your camera from 24 FPS to 60 FPS or 30 FPS, and you want to scroll actually all the way down until you see the FHD 8-bit 60 FPS here. So what you're going to want to do is click that. So now you're in 60 FPS 8-bit in 1080p. So you're not in 4K 60, and you're going to go back to the very top here, and now you will have the variable frame rate right here unlocked. So you're going to click on it, and you're going to go to set, and now you will have an option to increase this all the way up to 180 FPS, which is super slow motion. I never really shoot in 180, but the most I will personally do is 120. When I'm shooting music videos or like creative stuff, really, I'll just go to 90 FPS. I feel like 90 is just really smooth. I feel like 120 FPS is just too slow, so I like to sit at 90, but totally up to you though. I mean, you can also hit 150 and all the way up to 180. Alright guys, so that's it, plain and simple, my camera settings for my Lumix S1 as well as my Lumix GH5. Alright guys, thanks again for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't subscribe to this channel, consider doing so, as I post a lot of filmmaking tips and tricks videos as well as very in-depth behind the scenes videos on my film sets. Not only that, but my whole online store right now is 50% off for the entire next month. My online store consists of raw 4K files from music video sets and car video sets, so you guys can practice editing car videos and music videos all on your own without having to shoot the footage. And one of the other many products that we actually offer that actually has to do with this video is a natural log LUT setting. So it works really well for the GH5 vlog setting as well as the Lumix S1 vlog setting. It's the natural log LUT that I do use for when I am shooting in vlog on my Lumix S1, but it does carry over very well for the GH5. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a vlog or log base LUT. So with all that being said, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.